Learn what drivers are throttling up and which are slowing down as we head into the new season with our 2026 NASCAR Cup Series power rankings. All this and more. It's a brand new edition of the Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checkered flag. That's all this race is.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad, In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock here live with you to kick off 2026 with our top 25 in the Cup Series for 2026. I did 25 and 25 last year. We should have just done 26 and 26, but we will have the others receiving votes we'll talk about. Either way, exciting to have finally turned the calendar. We are officially in the same calendar year as the seasons we're breaking down, Seth.
Happy New Year, Elliot. Happy New Year to everyone out there tuning in with us. 2025, in the words of Parker McCollum, was a hell of a year. And now 2026, my friend, gearing up to be even better. So very much looking forward to breaking down the drivers who will define it in this episode.
Hope everyone had a great holiday season. We're still a little bit in holiday spirit here. Got the little Santa hat shirt on. Still some, we'll call that little cardigan crew neck holiday vibe from here, Seth. So yeah, tonight's show, just a horizon forecast was we will rank our top 25 NASCAR Cup Series drivers for the 2026 season. We aggregated the rankings between the three of us, kept it pretty similar. You know, we didn't have too much variance, as we'll talk about as the show goes on. Still lots of exciting stuff happening, even though the race season is still about a month away. We got the Clash, I think, a month from today. So coming up quicker than we think, but now's a great time to prepare yourself for the season that's upcoming. And one of the most exciting things we've got going on, the IBT Racing family, brand new as of last month, I believe it was, now free to join the conversation with us, myself, Seth, Rod, Ryan from My Fantasy Race, and the whole crew. Also free to enter memorabilia giveaways. When the season gets going, though, it will be that $3.99 a month or $36 for the year. Just $1 a points race. You get those non-points races for free in there. That'll give you access to the exclusive weekly betting model, entry into the head-to-head matchups contest that will be debuting next year, as well as getting full access to myself and Seth's betting cards. Also, access to the IBT football family comes with that. Playoffs right around the corner, week 18 this weekend. Free entry into memorabilia giveaways there, as well as to the conversation. But same as NASCAR, for the contest to be able to win and for the full betting cards, it will be that $3.99 a month and $36 for the year, which, hey, don't get me wrong, Seth. I understand if they didn't want to pay for that for just racing. But now it's racing is active a whole year in. Football, almost to the end of our first full season. And then also PGA and entertainment family, where it's all going to be lumped together and all going to be that one price. So you talk about bang for your buck, Seth. You get it as part of the IBT family.
Well, and Elliot, we're feeding families out here already, right? It's still the college football season. We're having a great stretch, 3-1 over the last 24 hours in my picks personally. So right there can pay for your subscription moving forward. We're also doing those giveaways, which are, well worth more than the $36 for you the year that you're coming in and paying for as well. So, talk about value, man. I think we're bringing it over there and excited to get back to the week in and week out grind of it all, but also kind of enjoying, just throwing in neutral here for a couple weeks in the off season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You can join at the link in the description, which is in-betweenmedia.com/chat. And Seth, as the NFL playoffs are just on the horizon, also an exciting contest you can join in the Discord as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our PropDecks tournament, Elliot. We have a free bonus contest that is coming this NFL playoffs, which over at PropDecks, you can actually build a player prop-based fantasy football lineup from wildcard weekend all the way through the Super Bowl. The winner, you're going to take home a $200 Fanatics gift card. Second place, you're getting an autographed Zach Evans Ole Miss Rebels jersey. And third place will score you a free entry in our 2026 edition of Draft Night Out. That's our live fantasy football draft party in Canton, Ohio at the Fantasy Football Expo this July. So limited spots are going to be available. So join for free now. Go to in-betweenmedia.com/chat, join the Discord, and then go to the NFL Playoffs Prop Deck Contest channel. again, huge thank you to our big partner, PropDecks, who continue to make the NFL playoffs better and better with each week that passes. So, guys, we had a ton of signups this past week. Spots are starting to really limit up for this. So make sure you're going over there to the Discord, getting in with it. And again, free to join this. It's just kind of one of our ways of, giving back, Elliot. Everyone's been so kind to us, all the kind words in the YouTube comments on the audio feed lately. So there's kind of just one more thing we want to do with the people and for the people this holiday season.
Yeah, man, that's a pretty good prize pool too. Third place, that draft night out entry, that was a good time last year.
Yeah.
I'm even okay with winning the bronze medal there, but definitely not okay with taking anything less than the full wins, though, as the season goes on and as we look forward to the NASCAR season as well. Again, you can find the links to all the fun stuff in the episode description. That also includes our Apple version on Apple Podcasts, link to 101.5 FM Talking West Tennessee. Shout out to our terrestrial radio family as well. 8 o'clock Saturday nights it airs. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. That's the easiest way to support us. Like we said, we got NASCAR. Rod and I even talked a little F1 before the holidays. Going to try to expand our F1 palette a little bit in 2026. And like I said, entertainment betting, golf betting, and of course, good old fantasy football and football betting. I took home a league championship and got a third place in some friendly leagues. I'm not putting any money down, but I know for those who are, congrats to all those who won championships. And Seth, hopefully you were one of those.
Oh, unfortunately not, Elliot. Unfortunately not. This is one of those years where, hey, I took down my NASCAR league that we play with the IBT family every single year and won about $1,000 out of that. But outside of that, was swept on the fantasy football front. Honestly, was just one of those years where I backed into a lot of 5 and 6 seeds in some leagues and had to hope and pray for the best. And the best did not come. But hey, that's the way it goes. And we just keep on swinging because that's what we do here at IBT every single year, man.
And sometimes it's just luck. I just so happen to have Derrick Henry on those teams that came away with wins. Big points week there. As Pittsburgh fans, we're not hoping for him to have such a good Sunday. But anyway, this isn't a football show. It's a racing show. Before we get started, they're not there. If you were talking about losing fantasy football championships, we'll continue to bring down the mood here. That was dumb. I don't know why I said that. But pretty – it's a pretty unfortunate events in the racing community. Greg Biffle and his family passed in a plane crash a few weeks ago, and Denny Hamlin's father, Dennis, passed away in a house fire. Just some rough times, and unfortunate to see people who have done so much, especially Greg Biffle, not just in the NASCAR community, but also helping those in North Carolina after Hurricane Helene last year. Just a tremendous loss. And the Biff, one of those guys, he was never my favorite driver, but anytime he would get to victory lane or have a pretty good day, you had to be excited for the Biff.
Yeah, you did, man. This was a guy who was for the people and by the people, right, man? I mean, I can remember when I was a young buck going up to Erie Speedway, Elliot, and you could get these autograph packages, right? And the Biff was always there every single year. And that seemed to be the trend with this guy, whether it was, making stops at local speedways on his way to tracks like he did up there in Erie, or whether it was, getting involved with some of the hijinks Cletus McFarland was getting in down there in Florida. This guy was all about racing. He was all about people and, everything he did for the Hurricane Helene victims as well, does not go unnoticed. And what a tragedy, man. What an absolute tragedy to lose someone this near and dear. I don't think even before this, you could talk to anyone in the NASCAR community and anyone would be like, oh yeah, Greg Biffle's a real jerk. You know what I mean? No one said that. There are other drivers people would say that about, but not Greg Biffle. And, so sad about his entire family, a couple young kids and his beautiful wife as well. So this one hurts, man. This one really hurts. And it's a sad day and got to pour one out for the Biff.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Just one of those tough situations. Like you said, I don't think I can put it much better than you. Just a tremendous man. And we didn't want to let the week go by without remembering and paying tribute to Greg Biffle and all those that we've lost recently in the NASCAR community. As we look ahead to 2026, though, we'll go ahead and kick off this week's power rankings, or this season's power rankings, looking ahead to 2026 in the Horizon Forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
Yeah, I don't know how your IC light's going down, but we got some hot chocolate with peppermint schnapps, and it's pretty good. Like I said, festive holiday season. Have to get excited for the yearly power rankings. Figured this was the perfect start as we turn the calendar to the new year. Happy New Year's Day to those who are celebrating. Hopefully your college football results have gone pretty well too. But anyway, I've talked a lot of football. And we're talking some NASCAR here. top 25 for 2025, AP poll style. We aggregated the top 25 of myself, Seth, and Rod, and we came together with the top 25 of all those drivers. Like I said, we kept it pretty similar. Only 27 drivers were voted for between the three of us. The others receiving votes that did not accumulate enough points to get into the top 25. Austin Dillon, just 1 point. You ranked him 25th, Seth. If it's the Richmond Power Rankings, I'm probably putting Austin Dillon in the top 5. In terms of a season-long Power Rankings, I don't really know how you gave him a vote. Maybe it was just for that Richmond slam dunk.
Well, that's the thing, Elliot, is I base my Power Rankings off a few different categories, but one of them being a buzzword tonight, which is going to be win equity. And Austin Dillon, he has a lot of win equity just because he can get it done, not only there at Richmond, but also at super speedway. So this is a guy who can win a race. Is he going to run 30th plus most of the rest of the year? Absolutely. But he can get you in the playoffs, and I think he deserves to be inside the top 25 for that reason.
Yeah, and that is a good point. I didn't really value the win equity in the same way. I think Rod and I probably went more of maybe like a DFS based of who has the best chance at the most consistency and potentially winning races. Both Rod and I had John Hunter Nemechek in our top 25s. I had him at P25. Rod had him at 24th. And it's just hard to not be excited about Legacy. The trends that they made last year, they were on a big upward swing, some really good runs out of equipment we normally wouldn't have expected. I do agree with you. The win equity is not there in the same way for JHN. Probably is for Erik Jones. We'll talk about him in a minute. He at least has those couple of tracks, Austin Dillon at Richmond and Erik Jones at a Darlington. Things can go pretty well for them on their day. In terms of a full season-long outlook, though, I do think this 42 going to finish ahead of the 3 in the points. But you're right, though. Best value of winning, you're going to go with the guy with multiple Crown Jewel Cup Series wins, not just Cup Series wins, over the guy who has yet to win a Cup race.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And me, Elliot, I'm a bigger JHN truther than I think just about anyone out there on the internet, right? But this is still a guy that I think we need him to put it together, especially on those 1.5 mile tracks, right? Like that's where I want to see more consistency from him. Big flats, I'm not concerned about. Super speedway racing, he's improved at. He's improved on the road courses as well. But yeah, I just don't think he has enough win equity to get him inside the top 25. And I am 26, right? Like if we were doing, continuing this list on, and it hurt me to put Austin Dillon over my boy JHN, but I'm just speaking facts right here. I don't think we see JHN really have any shot at the playoffs. That's like really what the issue is for me. I'm looking for guys who can punch that ticket to the postseason. Elliot, also looking for some of the IBT family members in the chat as well. Jamie checking in with us saying Happy New Year to you as well, Jamie. And your girl Mal saying my random call last year was Tyler Reddick. Random call this year will be Ryan Blaney. And of course, our friend Marcus asking what everyone's predictions are. Listen to Marcus, folks. Let us know your predictions down there, your power rankings for 2026 in the chat.
Yeah, thank you for shouting out the live commenters. Been a hot minute since we've done a live show, taking advantage of the off-season scheduling stuff. So shout out to everyone there. Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, not terrible picks. Guys that we'll talk about.
Shocky.
Yeah, we'll talk about them much later in our rankings. And hey, as much as I would have loved to have ranked all 36 drivers, we all know Cody Ware would have been at the bottom, and there wouldn't have been that much variety. Yeah. In our top 25, we start off with Daniel Suárez taking over the number 7 for Spire. This was a Rod-only one. He had Suárez at 20th, which gave him enough points to jump to the P25 spot, even though neither of us had him on our board set.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like, I don't know if changing equipment is going to help a guy, right, who couldn't even crack the top 28 in the standings last year. It's just the inconsistencies for me. Like, I used to think he was a top 10 road course talent, but like outside of the Roval last year, he wasn't really good at any of the road courses. And like, I think he can drive his tail off at intermediates, but it feels like a bit like almost like Bubba Wallace before he got that big win last year at the Brickyard, where if Daniel Suárez is out front, 10 laps to go in intermediate, I feel pretty good about live betting the guy behind him because he's just a bit squirrely, a bit JoJo the Circus Clown still. So for me, like, I just think whether it's Texas like we saw last year or a different track, I just don't have the confidence that he can really get into the top 25. Can he improve from 29? Sure, he's Daniel Suárez. He's pretty talented. But I think really like asking for a top 25 performance when he's switching programs for the first time in a while could not be the best bet, at least for my money.
Yeah, I think that Suárez would have been in my top 30. Wasn't really considered for my top 25. I have more faith in JHN. I probably have more faith in Austin Dillon. I do have a lot of faith in Spire. One of my hot takes, bold predictions
Agreed.
a few weeks ago was that all 3 Spire cars would win a race. I'm really excited about Spire, especially if they get Chris Gabehart in the door, not officially announced yet, but a guy who, of course, one of the top crew chiefs in the game when he was at JGR, promoted the competition director for a season there, a guy who can only help continue the upward trend for Spire Motorsports. But even though the 7 car started off as kind of its flagship, it became its flagship. I guess they ran the 77 first, and Hocevar probably is going to run the best, as we'll talk about. In terms of this 7 team, clearly number 3 out of 3 in the building, probably in driver talent, number 3 out of 3, even though very talented group in there. This isn't the Quinn Howell running or Justin Allgaier or guys like that with Spire. These are talented drivers. And I do think Suárez, like TK says, good enough for a top 10 at road courses if the race went well. 3rd car at Trackhouse, 3rd car at Spire, closer than Trackhouse certainly wants them to be. Spire certainly proud of getting a little closer to that as well. Suárez, I'm okay with him in the top 25. I'm not okay putting him at 20th. We'll have to question Rod on that one when we get a chance to get him back in here. All in all, though, like I said, 3rd Spire car, guy who may be on the fringe of the Cup Series, maybe the last year that we see Daniel Suárez in the Cup Series. He'll need to have a big year. Neither of us really see it, though.
Nope. I really just don't. I mean, maybe, like I said earlier, like I think the best thing would have been for him to go back to like JRM, right? And just like run some more races there. Can he get a full-time ride and then like smoke the Xfinity Series? I think the door was open for that. And it's kind of a shame that we don't get to see that. And like, I just don't think, like, there'll be times we'll bet Daniel Suárez at Atlanta. We'll probably have something on him top 10 for Las Vegas, right? But aside from that, I don't know where I'm going to be getting invested from a futures or even just a week-to-week standpoint.
No, I mean, even if we were going back to Mexico City, I don't know that I'm betting him in the Cup Series for any more than a top 10. And in terms of the JRM Xfinity deal, I don't know if that door was open. That may have been part of him staying in the Cup Series, one of only 2 moves made in the Cup Series for next year. And it could very well be an option in the future. A variety of different teams. The O'Reilly Series, as it's officially called as of today, could open up some opportunities in the future. It's not what Suárez wants, and we don't want to dip too deep into talking about the lower series, as we'll have plenty of opportunities over the month of January, as long as the books give us some odds. Please,
hopefully, man, hopefully.
I know it's tough because NASCAR has not officially announced platform yet, so it's tough to put out championship tickets or anything to do with the standings, but maybe this is just a call for NASCAR. This next week, man, everyone's back in the office as of January.
Please.
Give us some formats so we can talk about some odds.
Figure it out, NASCAR. Come on, baby. Let's go.
Otherwise, there may be some back roads that some people maybe aren't as interested in watching. But we're going to do our best here. Like we said, the Clash just a month away. And Daniel Suárez is going to hope for a good start to his Spire career at Bowman Gray and at the Daytona 500 in just 6 weeks' time or so. So he's 25th, 24th. Erik Jones in the number 43. We all kind of had him around the same spot. Rod and I had him at 23rd. Seth, you had him at 24th. Kind of makes sense. Like we talked about with JHN, the win equity is there a little more. You got the Darlingtons. You got maybe the super speedways, maybe the occasional good run on an intermediate. Overall, a guy, though, we know Jones had the potential. Big-time prospect back, almost 10 years ago now, which is crazy to think about. I think it was 2017 he spent that season in the 77 for Furniture Row, which is now 9 years ago. I don't make anyone else feel older than they are. But Erik Jones, a guy who definitely has to be happy and is definitely a big part of this Legacy Motor Club upswing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like to me, like Erik Jones is like Austin Dillon plus right now, right? Because he has win equity at pretty much one track and one track only as far as like a non-super speedway track, and that's Darlington. But we go there twice a year, right? So like he kind of gets like the Austin Dillon bump, but he gets it twice. And like he's also been really, really good on super speedways. Like him and JHN together have just been really, really impactful when it comes to the drafting tracks as of late. And like the thing about Erik Jones, though, is like last year, only 5 top 10s, but 4 of them were top 5. So like he has, like, he's not going to get you a bunch of top 10s. Like, I'm not expecting that from Erik Jones, but I'm just expecting him to maybe he would be able to get a win, and he's going to get you a couple top 5s, likely at both those Darlington tracks, and then probably 2 to 3 more coming at super speedways. So that's just kind of where I am on Erik Jones. I do like him, though, and he is sitting out there at some books 200-1 to win the championship. I don't hate that, considering I think I took a nibble on him maybe 100-1 a couple years ago for a championship outright, Elliott. So, hey, you got to do what you got to do. And I think Erik Jones, hopefully we can continue to see him improve in this legacy equipment as their notebook builds.
Yeah, man, if you want to take a long shot this year, I like 200-1 on Jones a lot more than I like 300-1 on Custer. Spoiler alert, Cole Custer is not in our top 25 rankings. A good point here that TK brings up, it has been proven money opens doors, even if the house was locked within that series. Just ask Nick Sanchez. I didn't think about this news from before the holidays. Patrick Staropoli, who had some limited starts in, Alpha Prime equipment or something like that. In Xfinity, a couple of Venturini starts. He's an eye surgeon, a doctor who has gathered up the money to buy out that number 48 ride in the O'Reilly series for next year. I mean, this kind of turns him from a feel-good story, what he was last year, nearly pulled off a top 10 at Martinsville, had a couple of good runs, now to kind of being this, evil older guy. But yeah, heel is a good word for him. But if you look at his backstory, a guy who started to break into the series, 10 plus years ago, took some time off, went to medical school, got himself his bag, got himself his career. Now that he's got a little bit of money, a little bit of pharmaceutical sponsorship, jumping back into racing for fun. Do I think he's going to run as well as Nick Sanchez? No. Do I think he's going to win a race? No. Do I think he'll be a sneaky top 5 bet, top 10 bet occasionally? And do I think that he's as evil as he's being portrayed for buying a ride? I don't think so. He's someone I'll be interested to watch in the O'Reilly series next year.
Yeah, he absolutely will be. And I think, pegging him as a heel is probably like what he's going to be for right now. But I mean, that's just kind of like the way the sport goes, right? You buy rides and it is what it is. And it's at least a good story. And hopefully, he's paid off all that college debt by now. And now he can dump his money into something else. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, he might be interested for a potential long shot Xfinity top 10 or O'Reilly series top 10 when we get down to it.
I just hope he has a clean first couple of weeks. No, Chris Wright, 100 miles an hour faster than everybody
else. Talk about
else.
A guy buying a ride, Chris Wright, huh?
Yeah, Chris Wright. He'll start the year full-time in a McAnally truck. Will he end the year in a McAnally truck? Give me the odds on no matter what they are. All right, back to our rankings here. Number 23, we'll call him a friend of the show. He's the closest thing in the Cup Series to a friend of the show. Michael McDowell, back for a second year in the number 71. He was probably the biggest variance that we had across the board. I had him ranked 24th, so in the middle part of the end part, I guess, middle part of the top 20. Rod didn't have him on the board at all. No McDowell for Rod. You got him 15th, Seth, so you are very high on Michael McDowell. I wonder if part of that is the win equity, or you're just really betting on more consistency from Spire and McDowell. I guess now, if I remember correctly, in your bold predictions, one of yours for the year was McDowell has a top 12 average finish, so probably gets part of the bump to 15th for you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of one of my flag plans for the season, right? Because, and part of it is the win equity that you talked about, right? Like he can, if something were to happen to SVG at a road course, it's like him, Connor Zilisch, and Chris Bell are the guys I'm expecting to compete for that win. He's won at a super speedway before. He was out in front of Texas at one point as well, so he can do that. And like for me, like on the season of 2025 as a whole, like Inspire for the first time, he was pretty impressive. 16th in average finish, 18.2, 13th in average start, 15.7. He won those 2 poles, led 96 laps. And like, I just think give him another year. It's the same crew chief coming back. It's the same car he's going to be in. Like, I just don't see a lot of detractors from Michael McDowell. I don't see why we wouldn't think he would improve with another year. This is one of the more, in my opinion, skilled drivers in the Cup Series as far as like different skill sets he has under his hat. So I just think there's a lot of different places that Michael McDowell can show up, and I think he's going to be a playoff threat. And, by my rankings, I have him as a playoff driver.
Yeah, I just think 15th is a little high. If everything goes right for McDowell, he absolutely is a guy that could pull off multiple race wins in only improving Spire equipment. I mean, he was able to win in front row cars, and we've learned that front row pulls out more supposed bang for their buck than any other team. They don't spend nearly as much money, which is why they don't win as often. McDowell able to win a couple of pretty important events there, and Spire, a team that definitely is going to invest a little bit. So do I expect a continued performance bump from the old Wiley vet McDowell? Absolutely, I do. I think it's more like a 24th place than a 15th place, though.
Okay.
Just because it's one of those deals where your SVGs and your Ziliches really close down the road course opportunities. And there's just so much variance now on these ovals that it's not going to come down to McDowell. It'll be, okay, if your dominant tier has a lot of guys have bad days, you're going to have your mid-tier drivers. And I don't think McDowell's in that mid-tier. I think he needs multiple things to go wrong to really have a shot at an oval win, or just play the strategy perfectly. Excuse me, like he did at Texas last year. Sent Joey Logano down to about the inside wall trying to block him for the race there. And that's about the deal you need to get from McDowell. I think to get a win, you either need that, or like you said, you need SVG to grenade an engine and Connor Zilisch to have not figured out Coda or San Diego or something like that. for McDowell to really have a shot. Like I said, respectable top 25 guy. 15th is a big stretch, though. But hey, if he has a really good year, you have all this material to pull from to show that you absolutely nailed it on the 71 team.
Absolutely. Looking forward to potentially proving y'all wrong this year. Let's go, McNasty. Back on McNasty, just like old times, baby. Let's go.
And that's the beauty of it, is the rankings are subjective. Another one with a little bit of variance was Josh Berry at number 22. First of all, so close to putting the 21 at 21. I don't think we have a number that matches up. This was the closest we got. That would have been fun synergy. I had him ranked 21st, so at least I was doing my part. You had him at 22nd. Rod had him up at 18th. Rod a little more optimistic for Berry. Berry, another guy that I feel like he needs everything to go right to pull it off. It happened last year at Las Vegas. Nearly happened at New Hampshire. If Ryan Blaney didn't have the most dominant car, nearly pulled off the spin and win in the New Hampshire playoff race. And for Berry, I do think he's going to have a better, consistent year. He's not going to have 3 races when he makes the playoffs, finishing dead last.
Yeah.
That was some pretty terrible luck. But Berry, another guy who I'm excited to see continue his upward mobility. It just doesn't really work for any of us to put him much higher than where he's at right now.
No, right? Because like the thing is, he has the win equity, right? He can win on a lot of short tracks. He can win. He proved at Las Vegas at those intermediates. But like to me, for one, like he gets a bump down because he's arguably the worst road course driver in the series, right? Like we cannot deny that. And also it feels like while he was leading on at super speedways last year, he really struggled to get to the finish of those races. And at the same time, I kind of just felt that in general, a lot of times we would see Josh Berry, top 5 qualifying effort from time and time again. And it just felt like whether it was speeding on pit road or the pit crew screwing up or him just making a bad decision out there on the racetrack, he tends to kind of hurt himself and have those big mistakes still. So I want to see him limit those and just become a bit more consistent. I think he's a bit rough around the edges yet. So I just want to see him kind of iron that out a little bit. He has a ton of upside, but I also think he has, like if you told me that Josh Berry, Elliott, finished 13th in the points next year, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you told me he finished 26th, I also wouldn't be surprised. I think there's just a lot of different ways it could go for the number 21 Wood Brothers racing car in 2026.
Yeah, definitely a lot of variance for sure, but a lot of upside. 3rd full year in the Cup Series for a guy who knows how to get his way around a racetrack. All that, of course, with his journey up to the Cup Series. And Berry could really benefit too. Of course, the Wood Brothers is a Penske car in everything but name. It's prepped in Penske shop and everything. There could be some days next year, maybe even more often than not, where you see Berry's the second best Penske car. Because you can see, I feel like we are at risk of seeing continued regression from Joey Logano. I don't know if we're going to get the even year Logano championship again. I think it's more likely he misses the playoffs. I don't remember if that was one of my hot takes, but it should have been. And then Austin Cindric. I don't really have a lot of consistent faith in Cindric to run really well up front most days. And of course, I think we all have him rated, or I guess Rod has him one spot higher than Cindric. We'll get to Cindric.
Okay.
But in any case, it's definitely more even than we think between Berry and Cindric, and maybe even Berry and Logano as he continues to age. 21 car could have a lot of upside. I don't think he's going to be faster than Blaney at most tracks, but sometimes Blaney has his issues, and it could really play into the hands of Berry.
True.
So now as we're inching closer to the top 20, we start to get to some former champs in the sport. Kyle Busch at P21 averaging out. Rod, again, the highest on Kyle Busch, all the way up at 15th. I had him 22nd. You had him 23rd. It's safe to say I like our rankings a little better than Rod's, a guy who hasn't won in a couple of years and a guy who really hasn't even had that much consistency the last couple of years.
Yeah, man, like ranking Kyle Busch in this exercise, Elliot, felt a lot like, you know, seeing your ex-girlfriend from high school on Facebook. Like, you just kind of feel bad, right? Because you're like, oh, I was kind of a degenerate back in the day, so you had to put up with me. But like, you're also kind of looking a little bit rough these days, right? So maybe I made the right decision to get out from under that, right? And that's how I feel with Kyle Busch, because like you look back at this past season, like I liked Kyle Busch a lot coming into last year, Elliot, you know, because of how he finished that 2024 season, whereas okay, we're almost winning the Southern 500. Oh, we're almost winning the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Like, we're almost winning these big races. And then last year, like, he almost won COTA. Okay, great. What did he do after that? Like, career lows and top fives in laps led. And I just felt like between, like, there and Phoenix, he had a good run at Phoenix the last race of the season, and he had a good run at Chicago. Like, those were his only top fives, man. Like, I just don't know where like maybe he can prove out. And I mean, I guess Dover's on a points paying race, and that's one of his better races the last couple of years on pure speed. So like, I just don't trust him, man. And like, is it terrible to say, but like, I think Austin Dillon has just as, maybe not as much win equity, but close to him, but with how good Austin Dillon is at Richmond. There's no one track that Rowdy is better than the field on.
No, I don't think so. And even his newfound road course prowess that he's able to nail the setups on, you're not going to beat SVG. He couldn't use Christopher Bell at Coda. And like you said, that was really his only shot at a race win all last year. And just some moments of where it seems like Rowdy, his age is getting to him a little bit. A couple of brain farts you don't expect to have from a guy like Kyle Busch. He's a really interesting one, though. I don't want to put on the silly season tinfoil hat too much tonight. But there are a lot of guys with expiring contracts after 2026. Probably going to be a lot more driver movement heading into 2027. This time next year, I wonder, where is Kyle Busch going to be? Where are we going to put him in the power rankings? It probably would be a surprise to see him back at RCR if he doesn't run any better this year. So a guy that maybe if you want to, you can't invest in him for 2027, obviously, as we're just getting into 2026. But one of those guys to keep an eye on, because I do think that there could be maybe 1, 2, 3 more wins for Kyle Busch. I just don't know if they're going to come at RCR, and he's going to need to find the right opportunity to get that done in the future. Until then, I'm not close to Rod's 15th. I'm much more at the 22, 23 range on Rowdy.
Yeah, and I've seen him talk in interviews. He's been on the Pat McAfee show a couple times, Elliot, and he keeps it really real on there, and just says look, I don't have the equipment that I used to have, and we've seen how Chase Briscoe took him a while to make the transition from lesser equipment to Joe Gibbs racing equipment, and I think Rowdy just had a little bit of beginner's luck when he came to RCR the first time, right, in 2023. Had that 3-win season, was tremendous, and I just think it's now setting in look, it's going to be really hard for me to win a race in this equipment. It's just the truth. We love RC. He's a man of the people. We talked a lot about him the last couple of weeks here on the program, but I just don't think his cup program outside of a couple of Richmond races and super speedways is there. And for whatever reason, Kyle Busch is still one of the best super speedway racers, but he just can't get it done at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta at this point, you name it.
There's got to be at least a couple people in that Joe Gibbs Racing front office. I mean, I'm sure they've really enjoyed having the sponsor money from your Monster and from your Saya Freight and whatever else has been on that 54 car. There's got to be a couple people that's like, man, what if we just gave Ty some extra time?
Yeah.
In what's now the O'Reilly series, kept Kyle Busch in, probably a few more wins in that JGR stable than they've gotten. Of course, the 0 out of Ty Gibbs.
Yep.
All right, cracking into the top 20 now. Another former champion and currently on a broken leg, Brad Keselowski, says he's going to be ready by Daytona. I feel like he probably should sit out the Clash, maybe throw in a substitute driver there, maybe one of those locals that ran last year, your Burt Myers and Tim Browns. They'd have a lot more fun in the Clash in the 6 car than they did in the Ware and Amerivet equipment. In any case, though, Keselowski, assuming he's back to health for the Daytona 500, fits in our top 20. Rod had him at 17th. I had him 19th. Seth, you had him 21st. So 20th, pretty fair average here for Keselowski. Neither himself nor his 2 RFK Racing teammates able to win last year. Had that good day at Darlington in 2024, but thus far, his only victory with RFK, but clearly hasn't lost it entirely. The stat I've been pulling out made me a lot of money in the fall, and the stat I pulled out referring to the end of his season had something like, I don't remember the exact numbers in my head now. Of course, I don't write it down. I have the sheet in front of me. That's where the stats should go, right? But something like 13 out of the last 18 ovals, which makes up most of the second, 2/3 of the season, top 10 finishes. So Keselowski, a guy who has not forgotten how to drive. The equipment is not completely garbage, just didn't pull out a win. And it's one of those where I don't know if it's going to happen in 26 either.
Yep, top 10 in 13 of the final 19 ovals. If that's what you said, you were dead on.
Okay.
Yep.
I think I said 13 of 18 or 12 of 18. So pretty close. Thanks for pulling.
No, you're dead on there. And for me, the thing about Brad, which I'm worried about, is one, he's streaky as heck. This may be the streakiest driver in our top 25, Elliott. So I am a little bit concerned about that. And also at the same time, when it comes to Brad Keselowski, you kind of pointed out, one next gen win for Brad Keselowski. That concerns me personally as someone who is looking to get invested with him, right? I think coming into the season with the broken leg, he's going to get off to a slow start like he did a year ago. And his qualifying is as shoddy as they come. How many times did Brad Keselowski qualify well last year? Usually when he qualifies well, he runs well, but it just feels like he's consistently after come up from 23rd, 24th, 25th place and give himself a good run. All I'll say is when Brad Keselowski qualifies in the top 10, I'm usually putting in my fantasy lineup because I know he's going to be good. It's just I don't trust him to get that qualifying effort to the max, and I also just don't trust him to get a win right now. One next gen win, 4 years. it's just not good enough for me. Like, honestly, too, like, even looking back, maybe I should have been a little lower on him. I feel salty, but, you know, I called him as not being a playoff driver last year. I think it's the same case here in 2026.
Yeah, I think it's funny, out of the Roush Fenway Keselowski racing cars, I mean, he's the lowest ranked in our rankings, and definitely I feel like has the lowest chance of winning a race. Talk about the broken leg, though. A lot of people bringing up 2011 broken ankle at a test at Road Atlanta, comes back less than a week later or maybe 10 days later, wins at Pocono, my second race I saw in person. If you go back to the finish line clips, you might see a kid in a green shirt near the start-finish line waving. Well, than me. I was right by the start-finish line that day. Keselowski wins it on a broken ankle, the second Pocono race in 2011. That's a much younger driver, though, than he is now, some 14, 15 years later. I don't know if the recovery is going to be that quick. And to be completely honest with you, I mean, we saw it with both Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. Those, I think, are the two recent examples of drivers missing time with injuries like this that aren't really concussion related. Chase also broken back. Those guys went, I think, both of them nearly a full year after those injuries without winning. So for a guy who already is having trouble winning and a guy who's a little older, those guys at least had some youth on their side. Keselowski in the mid-30s. The first couple months could be really rough for the 6 team. And I mean, it was in 25 as well, and they recovered well. But the more time goes by, we talk about it with some drivers across the board. Father Time is undefeated.
It is, my friend. It is. And I feel like Brad Keselowski, it might catch up with him here this season.
All right, we've talked about some old heads here near the bottom of the top 25. Got a couple of young drivers coming up, and it starts with Carson Hocevar, 2024 Rookie of the Year. So a third full season in the number 77. He's at number 19. Rod had him down at 22nd. Seth, you had him at 20th. I had him all the way up at 15th. I'm really high on Hocevar this year. I'm really high on Spire this year. We saw consistently in the middle of the year, the 77 car, big time speed, just some issues. And funny enough, not even really his fault. There were a lot of dumb things Carson Hocevar has done the last couple of years. You could constitute his fault for being bad finishes. When he had the highest race winning speed, though, that summer run, Charlotte, Michigan, Nashville, ended up with the P2 at Nashville, issues at Michigan and Charlotte that were completely out of his control. This is a guy that I feel like a full season of consistency, probably not going to be there yet. But in terms of race winning speed, I think it is there for the 77. I think Hocevar gets a win. I think he gets it early in my bold predictions. He's a guy I'm really high on, and a guy that, again, my ranking him 5 spots higher than you, 7 spots higher than Rod. Again, shocking. Rod has Hocevar the lowest rated. But Hocevar, a guy going to be really intriguing to watch, and a guy who I do think breaks through for that first win in 26.
With Rod's rankings, you definitely tell he's an old head of the program, right? he loves the wily vets, and you and I are a little bit higher, I think, on these young guns. Like, for me, man, and Carson Hocevar, like, you cannot discount it, Elliot. Like, we saw this race winning speed at Michigan, at Charlotte, at Nashville. You said even Atlanta, right? When he finally decided, like, hey, I'm not going to just try. Like, he was trying the strategy at first in the year where he's like, I'm going to hang out in the back, let everyone wreck themselves. He's like, no, I'm going to go dice it up and have fun with the boys up there. And that's exactly what he did. Something that helps this kid is I think, like, he's all racing all the time. Like, I know, you know, people think he's goofy and funny, and he likes to do the different gimmicks that he has with his, you know, marketing brands and you know, being in the NASCAR videos and stuff. But also at the same time, like, this guy just loves racing, right? If he's not in a car, he's probably sim racing. Maybe he's playing NASCAR 25. Who knows? Like, this kid, that's what he's about right now. And like, I think that's just great for him. And I think that's great for his development. Like, it's still fun, right? It's still fresh for him. 9 top 10s last year. So you love the improvement there, both on the top 10 and the top 5 front, but the average finish regressed. Like, we need the consistency from him. Led 122 laps last year. So if I think McDowell's going to have a strong year, I also think Hocevar is going to have a strong year. I just need him to put a full race together. Where that comes, I'm not really sure necessarily. I think, like, I'm just going to say Michigan because, like, you know, he's a Michigan boy. And, you know, I know he's potentially getting in the ownership game, a couple chilies up there, at least according to the Facebook fake news articles out there. So I don't know. I like Hocevar a lot, man. We'll see if he can take that next step. And I think with some more young guns coming in, hopefully he gets the target off his back. Because I think once he lifts that target off his back a little bit, things will get easier out there for him on the track, and people won't race him quite as hard as they do.
Yeah, talking about the chilies, man, I don't think that was fake news. I think he did actually.
I thought that was fake. I thought it was fake.
I think that was real. We'll have to verify after the show. But yeah, he's a kid who has fun with it. He's not to the point yet where the full season beats him down. He has a great time with it. Not only being present and happy and active for all his Cup stuff, but more often than not, you'd see that Dale Earnhardt truck parked in the infield, and he's just in the stands for the O'Reilly race or the truck race.
Yeah.
He's messing around with Cletus McFarland too, like you said, doing everything there is to do with racing. And one of those kids who he's got all the talent in the world. And like you said, get the target off your back. Stay away from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for a little bit.
Please.
Don't make the old heads get mad at you, and you'll be able to have those opportunities to go up there and win races. I think he'd love to win at Michigan. I think he'd love to finish a Daytona 500 with a chance to win. He's a guy I'm excited about early. Another young gun that we got here, Ty Gibbs, 18th on the board. Rod, 21st. Seth, yourself at 17th. And I had him right here at 18th. It's honestly kind of, we've talked so optimistically, I feel like, about the last couple of drivers, at least providing a window of optimism. I know we have Ty Gibbs at 18th. He's up the rankings a little bit here. And I feel like it's 90%, 95% because of his equipment. Personally, it's just tough to see excitement about Ty Gibbs. He's a guy who, I feel like maybe he doesn't show as much personality as a Hocevar. He's had a tough time in the race car the last couple of years. And we know the talent's there. We know he's a good driver, has been able to win races at the O'Reilly level. It's just been a tough go of it in the Cup Series. You just have the faith in the equipment and the faith in another year behind the wheel that maybe he's able to get it done. But Ty Gibbs still, I feel like, a gigantic risk going into this next year.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised I'm the highest on him, right? Because I feel like I've been the Ty Gibbs doubter for a little while now, right? The thing about it, though, he leads laps, at least for some of these guys down the board, right? Over 300 laps led. Again, to over 200 of those, I think, came at that fall Bristol race. But he's also a really good road course racer, too, where if something did, I know I said earlier, if something happened to SVG, it's probably Zilisch, it's Seabell, it's McNasty. Ty Gibbs probably in that conversation, too. And if he can ever put together a full race and figure out how to freaking manage his tires, he could be really good at some of these short tracks, I think. So I'm actually optimistic that, eventually you have to get it together. What is this, his fourth full-time season he's going into? Is that correct, Elliot?
Yeah, and then almost a half season as well.
That's what I mean. I think if the win total comes out at half a win again, I think I'm going to hit the over just because it's just regression to the mean. And I think he eventually puts it together. But I will say he regressed in every statistical category last season. So there is worry for concern. I just think, he has the full support of the organization. Does he need to work on some of his personal skills, some of his interviewing skills? Absolutely. Maybe his overall professionalism at times. I'm not going to, sit in here and complain about that and say he doesn't. But does he have talent and does he have great equipment? Yes and yes.
At the end of the day, you can't fault the kid. What is he, 12 years old and racing full-time in the Cup Series? Not quite that young, but
I think he's 23. He's like 4 or 5 years younger than us, I think.
Yeah, still a young buck who's learning where to go. And you're right, the win equity, even though he's very clearly the fourth Gibbs car, we have faith in some of these fourth cars that they can win races sometimes. And it's the tracks like the short tracks. I don't know about Bristol, but one track that came to mind while you were talking, North Wilkesboro gets his first points race. And we've seen him perform really well on these short tracks. It's been tough for me as I've been thinking about North Wilkesboro being a points race, where the leans could be. Ty Gibbs may be a sneaky guy that I think of when the Cup Series returns for a points race to North Wilkesboro. I don't remember how often he was in the All-Star race, but I know he certainly never started very well in one if he's made one, and I don't know where he ended up finishing.
He's usually been the transfer car, right? He's usually been one of the transfer cars. That's primarily where we've seen him. So, I'm cool with that call. We've also seen him do pretty good at these one-off tracks. I can remember a couple years ago out there in LA, we had I think I was 20,
really well.
26, I had 26-1 ticket on him. He led most of the laps that day. Joey Logano, I think, got out and away from him at the end. But I think if Ty Gibbs is going to do it somewhere, keep an eye out for North Wilkesboro. Keep an eye out for Martinsville. I think one of these Bristol. I think it's one of these short tracks is probably where it comes. So I think Ty Gibbs is live to win in 2026. And if not, is he a playoff car? I don't think so. But I think he's right in that mix. And I think that's where I had him, 18th for me. So, yeah, I do like Ty Gibbs, or 17th for me for Ty Gibbs. So,
yeah, it's funny how this goes. We started it with, I don't know about Ty Gibbs, and we ended it with Ty Gibbs is going to win North Wilkesboro, baby. Gotta love it. All right, 17th on the board, Austin Cindric, a guy who we all kind of had him right around here as well. Rod 19th, Seth, you had him 16th. I had him at 20th. I'm the lowest on Cindric. Cindric is one of those guys that he just kind of has had the same season every year. You get a win, okay, great. You run okay at some tracks, okay, great. You end up flaming out of the playoffs, okay, great.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same outlook for Cindric this year.
I mean, pretty much, right? Like it's the super speedway prowess, and I've called him the best super speedway racer in the next gen era on this show, and I'm going to continue to say that. And like when he gets in the playoffs, he can make a run, right? He usually does at least get to the round of 12, so he's consistent at the end of the year. The thing with him is like we just need more top 10 runs, right? I mean, 5, like that's got to be the lowest of probably almost anyone we've talked about today on the program. But he has the win equity. He used to be a really good road course racer as well, which is kind of falling off a little bit too. So like we just need to see them more consistent finishes from Austin Cindric. He has a speed. He's really been solid in like most major categories, like average starting position, laps led, that type of stuff. But we just need to see him put it together and have more top 10s. Like that's all I'm asking for him. And you know, he'll be on my betting cards at some of the super speedways this year, but outside of that, like maybe a top 10 at a road course, but it's just hard to really get excited for him because it's really, like you said, it feels like we've seen this season over and over again. I don't know what's pointing me to saying this guy is going to take another step forward. Maybe it's just another year in the car. Maybe it's just more maturity, but that's a lot to go off of.
Yeah, and I don't think Cindric lost the road course talent. I just think Penske's not really set up well for the road courses in the next gen. And we talk about the 4th Gibbs car, obviously going to lag behind a little bit. We'll talk about the 4th Hendrick car here in a minute. He's kind of the 4th Penske car. I feel like Josh Berry very well could surpass him in a full season there in that 21. And maybe NASCAR kind of had it right in the supposed rule that they were going to limit new teams to 3 charters or less. The 4th car, there's just enough of a performance difference there that maybe it just doesn't work out. TK bringing up a good point, went over to Australia along with Jesse Love to run supercars at the end of the year. Maybe improves at road courses, true, but I just think it's more a Penske setup problem than it is a Cindric problem.
Yeah, fair.
All right, moving on through. I said we had some variance in some other drivers. We had the most variance for Connor Zilisch here, the rookie in the Cup Series this year. Congrats, Rookie of the Year, Connor Zilisch. How about it? He ranked 16th. So Rod had him at P25 and nearly didn't even rank him. You had to remind him, hey, did you mean to leave Zilisch off your board? He said, yeah, maybe low expectations for a rookie, but throw him in at 25. I had him at 17th, so right around where he's at. Kind of what I'm expecting from him, as I'll talk about in a minute. But Seth, I'll let you go first. You had him as the 11th best driver for 2026 on your board. I know you're not crazy enough to bet a 10-1 title ticket on him like some of these people are.
Yeah.
But top 11 driver for next year, you're expecting Zilly to have a gigantic rookie season.
I am, man. And like, I will say, like, I will leave disclaimer. For every year we've done these rankings, Elliot, you know I'm always the high guy on the rookie, right? Like I get rookie fever. It happens with me in prospect season when it comes to the NFL draft as well. So don't take this as a huge surprise. But at the same time, like I just think there's win equity. I think there's real win equity. We talked about the road courses. He's in that mix of that second tier drivers already, and that's without knowing what he's getting into in the Cup Series as well. And then, like, could he go out and win Pocono? Maybe. Could he go out and win some of these super speedways or some of these mile and a half tracks? I think he could. To me, it's just like hard to tell what was JRM equipment last year and him just like catching, lightning in a bottle, and what is him actually being dominant as some of these other tracks. Like I couldn't, if I said take the road courses out of it, Elliot, and take Pocono out of it, just because we are there. Like, what is Connor Zilisch's best track? I could probably name 6 or 7 that you could throw in there for a discussion. And I think all those he's live to win in the NASCAR Cup Series this year. So yeah, I'm really high on Connor Zilisch, man. I don't know how you couldn't. I think this guy is the best prospect we've seen. Maybe since, probably bigger. He's better prospect than Larson. He's better prospect than Byron. This guy is.
I think you're going back to Jeff Gordon, probably best prospect since Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
Maybe Joey Logano. Logano was hyped going into the Cup Series, but didn't have the results very much in the first, up until he got to Penske.
Mm-hmm. And unlike, his buddy Ty Gibbs, I think he has the intangible part down already, right? That's a big part of this. The garage is going to respect him when he walks in. He's not going to be a Carson Hocevar where he's getting taken out, where he's getting, body shots left and right from Ricky Stenhouse. I think he's going to have a great head on his shoulders. He has Justin Marks as a veteran to lean on, and he's a great team around him. He has the best road course racer to learn from his data, and he also has a guy like Ross Chastain who ain't afraid to fly the finger a time or two and show him how to be aggressive, especially when he's out front. So yeah, I think Connor Zilisch is going to be a lot of times this year, Elliot. We're going to look up, and I bet. I'll say this: I bet we don't get to the Memorial Day race at Charlotte, and he's plus money for a top 10. I think that's where we're going to be. I think that's how good he's going to be. Is he's going to be heavy favorited by the books, and I'm going to hopefully make a lot of money on him early in the season. Phoenix, I'm going to be betting him there. Las Vegas, I'm going to probably be betting him there. I'll have a ticket on him at Austin as well.
Yeah, I don't blame you for being high on him. I'm of course I'm right in the middle here, and because I think it could go either way. We could very easily see him have a Rod type season where Rod has him 25th, nearly unranked, where he could struggle to adapt to the next gen car. He could, the best JRM car, what he had last year compared to what could be the third best Trackhouse car, that is a gigantic swing in equipment. If we were talking about Zilisch racing somewhere else, which he might be sooner rather than later, depending on how his career goes and how money flies around and all that, I don't have as much faith as I would if he was in a better car. And he could have a great season. He could really adapt to the next gen car well, could go out there, really have some setups hit, really have some good races, and potentially rip out multiple wins before we get to the playoffs for Zilisch, because the opportunity's there. I think it's somewhere in between. I do think that his biggest help, SVG as a teammate on the road courses, could also be his biggest curse, SVG beating him every time on the road courses. But I do think, we saw it a couple of times last year, the Chicago Street Course and Sonoma in the Xfinity Series, now the O'Reilly Series next year, where those two are battling for the win and nobody else was in the same time zone as them, basically. I think we're going to see that at multiple road courses. San Diego, I don't think anyone's within 20 seconds of these guys. Some of these other road courses, we saw him, his only Cup top 10, I believe, at a super speedway. So he's a guy that can run well pretty much anywhere. I do think he wins this year, and I think it'll be kind of a monkey's paw type of deal. I do think he grabs his first win at Sonoma. Still can't drink that wine yet there in wine country. I think he pulls out a road course and an oval, maybe in a Bubba Wallace, used to be Bubba Wallace, out of the playoffs and then get a second win.
Sure.
We go on and win one of those playoff level ovals. Overall, I think it's successful, but it's not ridiculously successful. I think 17th, perfect spot for me to put him somewhere in the middle of that level of expectation. Moving on to our top 15, Ryan Preece in the number 60, a guy who we all kind of had in this range. Rod and I had him at P16. Seth, you had him at 18th, but it was good enough for 15th in the points there. Preece, man, he may have come the closest to winning out of all three of the RFK cars last year. A little bit of up and down, but far more up than down. And a guy who back for another full season with RFK. Preece is a guy to get really excited about, to potentially go out there and rip out a win or two.
It is, but I still think there's a chance when it's all said and done, and we look in the history book, Elliot, that 2025 was the best season of Ryan Preece's career, right? 14 top 10s, would have been 15 if he doesn't get DQ'd from Dega. 3 top 5s, a career high, would have been 4 if he doesn't get DQ'd from Talladega. Makes the playoffs likely if he doesn't get DQ'd in that race too. So he nearly doubled his career top 5s and top 10s, best average finish by over 5 spots. I just worry that I don't know what that next jump is, and I don't know if he can necessarily take that specifically in RFK equipment. I'm not sure what this guy's long-term prospects are. Is RFK always going to have a third charter? Is that something that's solidified now? You might have a little more information on that than I do, but and then or does Brad get out of the car? There just feels like a lot of moving parts at RFK, and it's tough for me to get too excited and say that he could really win a race when none of these guys won a race, specifically a driver we'll talk about in that number 17 car, which I think is one of the most talented drivers in the Cup Series. So I'm fine. I know this sounds really negative. I'm still very high on Ryan Preece, but I felt like I do need to play a little devil's advocate just because I do have him lower in my rankings. I still think he's outside the playoffs looking in, but I loved what I saw from him, and I hope he continues to improve, but I just don't know if he can take that next jump and get into, a top 14, top 12 type of average finish, like someone I'm projecting for McNasty.
Yeah, you talk about these equities. Win equity, maybe not as high for Preece. Consistent top 10 equities.
Yeah, it's there.
Run where his car is going to put him equity. I think you're going to put him pretty high on that list. I think they're still leasing the second Ware charter, and we know that the Ware charter that is currently running with Ware is going to be sold to Legacy after this year. Which would leave Ware without a charter and maybe having to snatch this one back. But again, this whole chart, everything with the charters is now, there nearly was a lawsuit that completely eliminated them and took them away. Still some stuff to be figured out with charters. Still 4 in NASCAR's hands they can do something with. So that's all up in the air. I do think Brad is committed to keeping Preece in a ride, and it could be they lose the charter, Brad steps out, Preece goes in the 6, who knows. Either way, a guy that definitely solidified last year that as long as there's a Cup seat open, Ryan Preece is going to be one of the first guys on the list for that if he's without a ride. Definitely very consistent. Definitely a guy who deserves it. And I talked to him about this I'll have to go and find the clip on my Twitter. He was, I think, maybe the only guy I got to ask a really good in-depth question to at Pocono in the media center, where I was like, hey man, you finally like how does it feel to earn your stripes every year? Everyone was like, oh, they should give Preece a seat. Why doesn't Preece have a seat? I would love for Preece to get an opportunity, gets an opportunity, runs like a B+ tier Cup driver. That's enough to have really earned it, and he was satisfied about that for sure. And 15th, I think a good spot for him. As we're inching closer to that top 10 here, going to try to move a little faster on some of these guys, which will be easier because there's less of a case to be made for the guys at the top. Yeah. Moving again, we're into the playoffs now, a place where Alex Bowman certainly hopes to be once again in 2026. Ranked 14th here. Rod and I had him right at 14th. You had him at 19th. And we talk about it. 4th Gibbs car, we don't know. 4th Penske car, we don't know. 4th Ender car, we don't know. Has the upside to rip out multiple wins a year. A guy who has his tracks he's not so good at, but also a guy who could be sitting in the same exact spot that he was this year in the cutoff race, unsure and out of his hands whether he's even going to be in the playoffs at all. It's definitely high variance, a higher variance than the equipment should have for Bowman.
Yeah, man. Like for me, and part of this is the win equity, right? Like where does he win? Because it's like Homestead. I think he could win at Homestead. He had a good run at Richmond.
The problem with Homestead is it's the last race now. It's the championship race. And it's not for the 40. It's going to be point. Dover is not a points race anymore.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say.
It really hurts Alex.
That is why I have Bowman lower than everyone here. And part of that is the Dover detraction. That's one of his best tracks in my mind, where he usually at least can carve out a top 10, sometimes has race winning speed. He's not going to have that this year. And like Elliott, he really did kind of disappoint this past year, decrease in top 5s, top 10s, average starting position, average finish. And I just worry we're heading to like a lame duck type of situation where, again, not certainly privy to what his contract situation is too, but
kind of 26.
Yeah, it just feels like maybe it's a situation where by the end of the year, they already have named a replacement for him. He's looking for a new job. He's distracted. It kind of feels like it won't be as bad, but it feels like Daniel Suárez last year in Trackhouse to me. So I just worry about Alex Bowman. We know this is kind of an emotional guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve, which I love, but at the same time, that can kind of sometimes hinder you in a race car. So I think he's going to get a bunch of top 10s, but does like top 5 come at Coda probably. Top 5 maybe at Daytona, sure. But like outside of that, I just don't know if it's a hard enough start to the season to detract from what I'm expecting to be a disappointing second half, if you would.
And you mentioned it too, an emotional guy. The best chance Bowman had to win in 25 was Homestead. 10 laps to go on his radio. Larson is coming. He is hard charging. The conversation between crew chief and spotter on channel 2 was, hey, let's not tell him Larson's coming so he doesn't get all in his head and end up crashing the thing. Ends up smoking the wall with 6 to go. Larson goes by and wins the race.
Yep.
He's got his tracks, super speedways, really impressive the last few years. Again, people don't know it because they weren't watching the in-car like the Bowman fan I am. Had the best car at Texas, gets wiped out in the crash with Bubba Wallace. I still feel like he was going to win that race if they don't get crashed out. So you have those intermediates, you have the super speedways if you're lucky, but you're right. It's not enough to be able to place enough win equity to say this guy's definitely going to be in the playoffs. He's definitely going to win his job back. I think if he doesn't win 2 of the first dozen, they're probably already signing somebody else in the seat for next year. But silly season is for silly season. The rankings here, Bowman at 14th, Chris Buescher at 13th. We talked about him a little bit just a minute ago with Preece, a guy who we got it right down the line here. I had him 12th. Rod had him 13th. You had him 14th. Perfectly averaged out to P13 here. Definitely the best Roush Fenway Keselowski racing car, but still unable to get a win in 25. And did he win? He won in 24 or somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watkins Glen. Right in the playoffs there. But a guy who we've really seen him earn his potential, earn his stripes, earn this ride. But there's just a little bit more, and he can really become a superstar in the series. Just needs a little bit more.
Yeah, it was no wins for him in 2025 for the first time in the next-gen era. If his win total opens up at half a win, I'm probably going to jump on that as well. He did improve his average start position by 6 spots. That was a big detractor when we were trying to gamble on him in 2024. So that was great. But he just didn't lead a lot, right? Like had just 48 laps led. That's not good enough for Chris Buescher, for me, Elliott. So like when it comes down to it as well, like his win equity feels like it's drying up a little bit because he's a great road course racer. But it feels like, now outside the Glen, I don't see him win. And even at the Glen right now, SVG is so good. Zilisch is so good. I don't think he can attend there. Michigan, maybe we see a Michigan, Kansas, but we also have guys like 2311 who were at one point good at Michigan. Denny really good at Michigan. You also get, the Hendrick cars there. Yes. So it's just hard for me to see like a bunch of wins coming from Buescher. Do I think he can get one? Yes. Do I think he can be a playoff guy? Yes. But I guess I'm just a little bit lower on RFK as a whole, but still 14th for me. That feels perfect for me. I think he'll definitely it'd have to be a really bad season for him not to be on that cut line. But can he get past that cut line? That's what I'm not sure. That's why I think 14 and where we have consensusly 13 is a fine rating.
Yeah, and he's the guy who I could be looking at come Daytona 500 as well. Keselowski still doesn't have one of those. We saw them at times try to control the super speedway races.
Yeah.
Could be somebody I've got my eye on here in 6 weeks' time or so. Talk about, again, 2025 was a really tough year to win races. The opportunities were not open for Bowman, talented driver, for Buescher, talented driver, and for one of the 2024 championship for Tyler Reddick, who did not have a race win last year, ranked at 12th here. You had him at 12th. Rod and I had him at 11th. And again, a guy right on the precipice. We thought after 24, this guy's going to be one of the next superstars, going to win a boatload of races, 25, major aggression from 23-11 kind of across the board. And definitely for Reddick, now that their future is settled, the lawsuit is settled, could very well be another upswing for 23-11. And with Reddick's potential, I feel like that's much easier to bet on out of this 45 team.
Yeah, I just don't know how to feel about Tyler Reddick. I went back and forth where I ranked him a bunch of times, and I eventually did land behind Bubba Wallace, man, because Bubba feels a bit more consistent. Reddick's always going to be someone when the track is hot and when it's slick that when he can rip that fence better than anyone, that he's going to be a contender. When we go to places like Darlington, watch out for him. When we go to any of these intermediates where there's some tire wear going on, like Kansas, right? He's going to be a threat. But 8 career wins coming into last year, none. I think he's still, probably dealing with some stuff in his personal life as well, which, we're praying and hoping that everything sorts out there well. But just 179 or 169 laps led last year, Elliott, usually somewhere between, 450 and 600 laps led. So I just need to see him take a step up there. Is it fair to say that his win equity is closing a little bit too? Because at one point we thought that he was going to be the next Chase Elliott and go out there and win a bunch of road courses. And he just doesn't seem like he has really kind of taken that next step consistently. So I just worry that, it's still going to be a top 12 year. He's still a guy who just won the regular season championship a year ago, but is he closer to that, 12th or, 16th place car he was this past year rather than that, top 5 car he was 2 years ago? Maybe. And that's what I think we need to realize, or at least somewhere in between where we have him at 12. I
feel like Reddick, another one of those guys where he'll run to where his equipment can kind of put him. He can take advantage of a good car, go out there and win a race, but he kind of needs that good car. And we saw it with his first couple of wins at RCR back at the beginning of the next gen when the gap was a lot closer, able to rip out some road course wins when he didn't have a Kiwi coming up and winning all the races from supercars as well. And I do think 23-11 has more of an upswing this year, but you're right. The win equity, where's 23-11 really dominant? You don't have Kansas anymore. You don't have the road courses anymore. It's almost tough to find, but I do think he's talented enough to get himself back to victory lane. And I do think probably everyone from this point forward wins at least one race in our power rankings next year. And that includes the guy had right before a top 10 at 11th at Ross Chastain. Rod and I had him at 10th. You're the one who knocked him out of the top 10, Seth, having him 13th on the board. And I do think it's the right spot for Chastain as well. I feel like we did a pretty good job here, especially with the top 15, kind of putting everybody kind of where they deserve. Chastain, a guy, again, when the gap is closer to the top, he's going to do really well. P2 in the points in 2022, about this far, not quite this far, but about this far away from the championship from Logano there in 22. Hasn't been able to reach those heights since. One win a year in 24 and 25, but that win in 25 was one heck of a race, winning the World 600. Coming up on William Byron there at the end, coming all the way from the back. He's a guy who has win equity. It's just one of those where he's going to earn it at least one point in the year. You just never know quite when or where.
My issue with Ross Chastain, and I think why I haven't ranked as low as I do, is he doesn't, I don't know if it's him or if it's his crew chief, but he doesn't make good second half race adjustments, right? If he's fast to start the race, and you're betting him for a top 10, you better hold the heck on, right? Because he's going to probably finish 11th or 12th because he's not making those adjustments. I want to see that from Ross, right? Only 83 laps led last year. That tells you that story a little bit. He's also someone who feels like a couple of times when we're at some of these intermediate tracks, whether it's Texas, whether it's Las Vegas, that has to do some type of crazy pit strategy to put himself out front. So that's what I just worry about, right? And there's the whole factor too that he's terrible at Homestead. Trackhouse Racing is terrible at Homestead. So He definitely can't win a championship. Like, so it kind of just strikes him off the board right there for me as well. So I can't get him any higher. I love Ross. I love that this guy has dedication to not only his racecraft, Elliott, but also his fitness. We know he's working with Josh Weiss and Scott Speed in the gang all the time. He's a bikeaholic, right? So I do love that from Ross. And I think his fitness, his cardio, and just his overall, IDGAF attitude is going to get him far. But is it going to get him 15 to 20 top 10s? I don't think so. Could it get him a win? 3 to 5 top 10 or 3 to 5 top 5s and, double digit top 10s? Absolutely. But that's just where I think he stands.
Yeah. And a crew chief, an important thing to talk about, Brandon McSwain coming over from William Byron's car. He was an engineer there to be the crew chief. And the crew chief factor, we haven't talked about it from anybody yet. I think it could be a positive for Chastain.
I think it could too.
I think going down the board here, I think Randall Burdett with Connor Zilisch, that could put him, if you should listen to Kyle Busch fans, could put him at risk of not winning races. Kyle Busch having Jim Pullman could certainly help him out, as he was a good crew chief for Justin Allgaier on the Xfinity deal. I think keeping Blake Harris on the 48 team of Alex Bowman, a complete garbage move. I think that is going to hinder the 48 team as well. But it makes sense if you're going to have him as kind of a lame duck, support the other 3 Hendrick drivers kind of car, you're going to keep the status quo on the crew chief there. But anyway, I'm not going to get on the crew chief soapbox now this far into it, but crew chief change there could definitely help on the one car. So we've gotten through 25 to 11. We're right on the precipice of the top 10. Not before a quick word with one of our partners, right, Seth?
Absolutely. Wanna Parlay. We are partnering with them once again, and they have created a fun and exciting competition that really just connects people, right? Because that's all fantasy sports and sports betting is about. It's about connecting people. Wanna Parlay embodies the joy of winning, the heartbreak of almost winning, and all the other emotions that you can expect while during competition. From the brains of 2 former K-State college football players. Go Wildcats, baby. It's all about stacking legs, competing with real sports lovers like you, and getting real cash wins every single day. You can 1,000 times your money and cash out fast. Are you ready to get in on the game and flex those parlay legs, baby? Download the app for free for iOS and Android, and you get a 100% match bonus if you use the promo code IBT. Let them know that we sent you. Again, that's promo code IBT. Get a 100% match bonus at Wanna Parlay. Link is in the episode description. They got a bunch of college football player props. Love that market that they put out every single week. They also have a bunch of other sports, PGA, NFL. So if you're connected to our content here at IBT, it's a great place to play over there at Wanna Parlay.
Appreciate them for the support. Let's get back to the rankings here as the show winds down. Kind of surprising this guy makes the top 10, but the more you think about it, the least surprising it is. The 97 is Shane Van Gisbergen, number 10 on the rankings. Back in his OG number, we're going to look back on it and say, why did they even run him in the 88 that one year? That was weird. Back in the 97, I had him the lowest on the board at 13th. You both had him in the top 10. Rod at P9, yourself at P10. And honestly, I do think 13th may be a little low now. Maybe I gave more credit to Zilisch taking some road courses than I thought. But in terms of what we're expecting from SVG, the ovals have improved. I don't know if they've improved enough to really solidify him as a top 10 kind of overall full season outlook if you ranked every track equally. But I do think the playoffs are still going to result in some sort of system that does not rank every track equally. I think if you're betting on a Chastain championship future, you have to enjoy it's probably not going to be a one-race title fight anymore. I don't think you're going to see a road course in that Final Four, but SVG would certainly hope so. I do anticipate multiple wins of the road courses again, and it'll put the 97 in contention in the playoffs, regardless of how it shakes out. You're going to talk about SVG at the end of the year once again.
Yeah, the books are scared right now, right? We finally got some championship odds released, Elliot, in here in Pennsylvania. Some of the books we use, none of them have SVG listed right now because they don't know what the playoffs is going to be. And, rightfully so, right? 5 wins for this guy, 3rd in playoff points, 21 flat average finishes, 25th best. And he's getting better on those ovals, right? And the fact is while yes, he can pull out a top 10 at Martinsville, at Phoenix, here and there. He's just so good at the road course. Wins by 16.5 seconds in Mexico City. Late restart in Chicago gets it done. Survived a late restart at Sonoma. Won by over 11 seconds at the Glen. Won by 15.5 seconds at the Roval. So this is just a guy that's so dominant. I still think he's good for 3 road course wins. And for me, if I can sign you up for an over 2.5 wins ticket, you deserve to be in the top 10 of my rankings. Simple as that.
Yeah, I don't blame it at all. And I would take that number 2, honestly, for SVG. I do think they're going to set it probably pretty high, though. The only hope is that they have SVG's number a little lower because Zilich's numbers being a little higher. That's the hope to make money on SVG. The title tickets are going to be interesting to watch. TK bringing up, it was up, and then Seth pulled it down. There we go. That's the problem. Both of us, anyway. Power play in case SVG didn't work out in 2025 proved it was not his seat. It was a team seat. 97 proves it's his seat. Yeah, I appreciate TK throwing a bunch of comments in there. Sorry we haven't gotten to a lot of them, but if you want kind of a third player's analysis and some of this stuff, TK throwing good insight on a lot of these drivers here. And that's a good point. If SVG went out and stunk it up, they may not have been back this year, but he certainly has earned it and has earned the right to be in our top 10. And so is Bubba Wallace, ranked at 9th. Astronomically great season for the 23. First regular season win. Definitely the best 2311 car last year, and had a playoff run where makes it out of the round of 16, and a couple dominoes fall right. He could have gone a lot further than that too. Bubba Wallace, Rod, lowest on him at 12th. We both had him in the top 10, though. I had him 8th. You had him 9th. Seth.
Just a guy who has been super consistent at all the ovals, right? And he's a great super speedway racer. Already got that over 3.5 laps led at the Daytona 500 bet on him for 3 units, Elliott. And this is a guy that, hey, if I can get invested from a season-long standpoint, I'm happy to do it because, yes, he did have the same top 5s and top 10s as he did in 2024, but he led almost 400 laps, almost combined for as many as he had the past 2 years combined. And he could have had another win, right? If Denny Hamlin doesn't get a little wild and a little squirrely out there in the playoffs, he likely continues to get another W next to his name in his scorecard. So I think for me, Bubba Wallace, he was a guy like how I feel about Daniel Suárez at times, who could get a little JoJo the Circus Clown out there. Now he has that crown jewel in his back pocket. He has the solidification. I'm here. I deserve this ride. It's a great ride, by the way, as well. He's got the full support of maybe 2 of the most influential people in the NASCAR scene right now, Denny Hamlin and, of course, Michael J. Jordan as well. So really, really excited for what's come from Bubba Wallace. And I think he can win on a variety of tracks, Elliot. I really can. I think he can win on pretty much any super speedway, on just about every single mile and a half we're going to go to, and even at short tracks. Martinsville he ain't bad at. He's also had speed off the truck in Bristol as well.
Yeah, man, he really has become more of a well-rounded driver than maybe I ever expected him to be. Had the crown jewel win at the Brickyard, and I do think that the sky's the limit for Bubba Wallace in this 23 car.
Yeah.
Sure. Moving on to P8, Chase Elliott in the number 9. I had him 6th. You and Rod had him at P7. The biggest problem with him is wins, but he was able to rip out 2 last year, and a guy who continues to keep himself at the forefront here in the Hendrick Motorsports number 9.
Yeah, just a ton of top 10s. This guy qualified like absolute dog doo-doo all season long, and it felt like he continued to just power through it, whether it's Ross Chastain taking him off track in the first turn of Coda, right, and powers back and gets a top 5 run. I mean, his late run on road courses, his late run speed on road course, that needs to be studied in a lab because this guy just continues to get better as the race progresses. It feels like he gets into a groove a little bit. But like, to me, it's like, again, does he win a lot? Probably not. I think he's probably good to 1 to 3 wins a year. If he went winless, I wouldn't be shocked, right? Like one of those wins did come in Atlanta. Let's not look past that as well. So for me, Chase Elliott, just super, super solid. A guy who's going to be out there leading some laps. We saw him also win the Cookout Clash last year, so we know he still has that short track prowess as well. But just want to see him put it together a little bit more. And he needs to qualify better, Elliott. This guy just unloaded so terribly last year off the truck every single week. If he can qualify better, then maybe we could talk about Chase Elliott being up there in the top 5 mix. But until then, if you're just going to have the late run speed, but you're not sit up there all track. And there's a lot of races last year too, Elliott, where you look up and Chase Elliott's running 11th to 15th. There are a lot of races like that. We can't look past that. He might slip into the top 10 by the end of it, but for a lot of it, he wasn't.
Yeah, you talk about crew chiefs and how they could affect drivers. A lot of Chase fans not too happy with Alan Gustafson, but he's back, so you got to deal with it, I guess. Chase, yeah, a guy who I feel like after he won his title in 2020, we thought, okay, here's your guy to lead Hendrick into the future. Has been surpassed not only in these power rankings, but in just about every measurable statistic by both Larson and Byron, and a guy who, 3rd best on the 1st or 2nd best team in the garage is still pretty solid, but it does put Chase at a little bit of a disadvantage. And I feel like there's some more divided opinion on the next couple of drivers as well. 7th, Joey Logano, big variance here. Rod had him all the way up at 3rd.
Wow.
Probably considering the even year Logano. I had him 9th. You had him 8th. Logano, he's again, very big variance here. Definitely a guy who could go out there, pull off his magic, get it done in the playoffs, and continue to be even their year Logano. But I think there's a big risk that Logano doesn't win a race this year. Now, there's a bigger risk that he doesn't even come close. Texas, his only win last year, didn't have the oval speed, was just barely able to scrape out of either he made the round of 8, I guess. Did he make the round of 8 or did he fall out of the round of 8? What was the Roval deal was the round of 12 and he made it, right? Either way, that just shows how much of a lack of an actual threat he is, because it was the battle for 20th at the Roval that kept him in or whatever. Logano, definitely some variance here. And I feel like you're more on the same page with me than with Rod having him all the way up at 3rd.
Well, if the playoff format changes, Joey Logano is one of the biggest losers, likely, right? Because him and Penske have mastered this playoff system down. So for me, like, I do like what we saw of Joey Logano as far as like consistency, 150 plus more laps led last year, improved the average finish. But overall, for me, when it comes to Logano, I just don't know. Like, he's going to have some really good runs on some of these short tracks. Martinsville, he's going to be out there. He's going to have a good run when we get out to Iowa, WWT as well. But outside of that, like, and I think he's one of the better super speedway racers, but he can't ever win a super speedway anymore either. So it just feels like, I'm just not like overly high on Joey Logano. I love the new look. Honestly, I think that's a really daring good look. But at the same time, I just can't. I don't know. I can't get too excited, but I also can't, downplay him too much. But you're right. I think it's variance. He could win this series once again, or he could be sitting at 16th and barely scraping into the playoffs at the end of it, like he did. I believe that was in 2024. Yeah,
and maybe we don't have even year Logano. Maybe we'll just have bald Logano and see how that's going into 26. Moving on to 6th place, Seth. I don't know how you feel. I'm a little worried about Christopher Bell heading into it didn't keep me from putting him very high. I had him at 7th. You both had him at 6th. Ends up at 6th, of course. I think he's now the 3rd Gibbs car. And we saw last year a lot of times when we were like, oh, man, Christopher Bell has run well here before. He could have a really dominant car.
Yeah.
Throw out some stinkers. Early in the year, 3 in a row. Had a pretty rough summer stretch. Was able to win that fall Bristol race. Still unable to make it to that championship round for another year. Like I said, just with Bell, man, a few too many times not running as well as I think. And of course, he's going to be a good driver. He's probably going to win a couple of races. But in terms of being one of the elite dominant title contenders, Bell's kind of on the precipice for me.
Yeah, I had him at 6, so I was no problem with that. Like where he came in consensusly, right? Because the thing about Christopher Bell is he's going to go out and he has great win equity, right? This is like, I don't know if there's a track in the series that I would really roll Christopher Bell out as like he can't win. He's won at super speedways. He's won at road courses. He can also get it done at mile and a half. He can get it done. The best guy, him and Ryan Blaney and I guess Briscoe now, best short flat drivers, right? So you have that going in his favor. But at the same time, you also have a guy who, I was great for hitting top 10s on 22 last year. I was just like, anytime the book was lowering him like to a minus 130 or better, it was a slam for me. Multiple units down on Elliott. But at the same time, like, it was 23 races between his 3rd and 4th win of the season. Right. So like he wasn't a real, and he wasn't a threat at some of those short flat tracks that we thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be dominating some races up north here, and he really did not. So yeah, I'm with you. I think 6 is a great place. I think he can go out there and win a championship, but at the same time, I just need to see a little bit more consistency throughout the year.
Yeah, man. And even talk about the 4 wins for Bell. Atlanta could have been headed toward a 3-wide thriller if not for a caution where he may have lost out.
Good point.
Kyle Busch, dominant driver. SVG had an off day, a race he probably doesn't win in all cases. Phoenix, this close with Denny Hamlin. Could have just as easily lost that one. Bristol, crazy tire race. Needed a late restart to be on the right strategy there and get it up to the front. So, again, you can if and but everything in the world, but just a little worried about Bell. If we talk about the Chili Bowl here in a couple of weeks, I'm not as worried about Bell. But in terms of the Cup Series, definitely an intriguing year. Just as Chase Briscoe had in 2025, it was, what do we think about Briscoe? Goes out there, gets his first Gibbs win at Pocono on fuel mileage, rips out a couple more before the end of the year on a championship 4 run. And really, again, a guy who, can he run in good equipment? Absolutely he can. We both had him at 5th. Rod had him down at 8th, so a little lower on Briscoe, and I don't know where that comes from. I'm really high on Briscoe. Now that he's learned how to drive a good car, I don't think we're going to see much of a slump. I think this is a guy that's going to be in the mix of that top 5 to 8 drivers all season long.
This guy is a certified rock star, and he has the backing of arguably the most influential and powerful sponsor in the NASCAR Cup Series, that being our guy Johnny Morrison, right? So I just like see no way to get off of this, right? I mean, he's just now coming into his prime age as well. 13 career top fives coming into last year, had 15. That's tied for the most in the series. 2 career wins. He got 3 last year, right? Had 2 poles coming into last year. He got 7 of them, even though one might be a little cheating. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like this guy, he had 884 laps led, the 4th most in the series. Like everything to me, and that was with half a season, not really understanding the JGR equipment. So you had as one of your bold takes that he could go out and win the regular season championship. I think he's very much in the mix of this. I had him at 5th as well in my rankings with you. Rod, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's a few too many ginger vodkas on New Year's Eve while you're putting this together, Hot Rod. But yeah, I'm all in on Briscoe once again.
Yeah, and Briscoe getting this shot with JGR. You got to talk about those guys in the JGR front office. Happy to bring this guy in. Like I said, if Bell's at an inflection point, Denny Hamlin potentially signing his last contract for the next 2 years, I think Briscoe is a great representative for JGR to lead them into the next era.
Yeah,
a guy who can win for them for years to come, maybe over the next decade, one of the top 5 drivers in the Cup Series. Very reasonable for Briscoe and for most of these guys too that we have in the top 5. Number 4, William Byron in the number 24. A little bit of variance here. Seth, you had him P2. I had him right here at 4th. Rod had him at 5th. Again, kind of overshadowed by Larson. Championship race, it worked out for Larson, didn't work out for Byron. Win equity, kind of all over the place for Byron. Leads a lot of laps, had a lot of bad breaks last year. I don't think we're going to see quite as many bad breaks for Byron. And probably the same amount of laps led. Been one of the best drivers in the next gen era.
It's just the case, man. It's just the case. Like this guy is a threat to win every Crown Jewel event or meaningful race for Hendrick Motorsports. Like circle this guy when the pressure's on, when the big moment matters, he captures it other than winning the championship so far. He led almost 1,000 more laps than the previous year. So I really like the improvement we saw from 2024 to 2025. Also, like, you got to like a guy who can win on different style tracks, Elliot. Like he's been fast on road courses. Like while I don't think his equity is quite there now, the SVG's there. It's not that far away that he was winning on Coda. He was winning at Watkins Glen. He's won 500s. He won at Iowa this past year. He's also been a short track ace when you go to places like Martinsville. So I just think William Byron, to me, he has maybe the most win equity in the garage. And to me, that means a ton. And also a guy you really can't count out for a top 10 at pretty much any track. It just feels like weird things happen to him. Like whether it's like the garbage bag incident or whether it's just like goes out at Chicago and just blows the engine or does whatever, transmission, whatever that was right away.
Dillon at Vegas or
near
the leading wire to wire at Darlington before just weird pit stop stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just situations like that. So I'm just really high on William Byron in general, I think.
Yeah, I think he's very well put at number 4. Each of the next 3 guys, we all had different guys at number 1. For me, my number 1 ends up 3rd on the board. Denny Hamlin in the 11. I had him at number 1. Seth, you had him 3rd. Rod had him at 4th. I was real skeptical coming into 25. He's a guy who didn't win last 2/3 of 24. Came out best driver in the garage, everything but the champion in 2025. Of course, it's been a heck of an off season, heck of a couple of months for Denny Hamlin. But my assumption is he's going to come to Daytona. He's going to have the victory of the lawsuit, and he's going to be more locked in and focused than maybe anybody in the garage to say, I've got 2 years left, and I'm going to win a bleeping championship before it's all said and done. He doesn't care what the bleeping format is. He doesn't care who bleeping stands in his way. Denny Hamlin's winning a bleeping championship. That's going to be his mindset, I feel like. Whether he gets it done, I don't know. But he's a guy who is going to come out with passion for these last couple of years of his career and just be one of these guys to bet on each and every week. 6 or 7 wins last year, led the series. Dominant equipment, dominant driver, and my number 1.
Yeah, man, it's so tricky with Denny Hamlin because I do agree. I think he can make the case for number 1 just because like this is a guy who, I mean, all the way going back from when he was coming up, man, like when he got a shot, like he just put himself in positions to be there. And for me, he doesn't take anyone's crap out there. He doesn't care. And like, while I've argued he should be the hero of NASCAR and not the villain, especially after what unfolded in Charlotte last month, at the same time, like I don't know, man. I'm all over the place on Denny Hamlin because like that's got to weigh on him, that championship miss, right? And his father passing like tragically like that. Like that's just so sad, man. So much stuff's happening in his life. He's at the age too where, we kind of saw at the end of Junior's career a little bit where Junior had a lot of things going on between the helmet where he's just, trying to figure out what's next for me. What is life like outside the car? I don't think Denny's quite there yet. But I'm just saying that can maybe creep in. I don't think it will, especially for a guy who just came out winning this or leading the series with 6 wins. And he's like Byron too. He can win almost any track style other than a road course, right? So, I'm in on Denny Hamlin. I like him a lot, but some of those things are kind of creeping up for me. And, just wishing him and his family well this time of year because I know it's got to be tough with everything that they've dealt with over the last 3 or 4 months.
And I do think that all that stuff with Denny, I mean, even if you take out the lawsuit and the personal life stuff, just the way it went down in Phoenix. I think that plus the emotion that he showed after winning number 60 at Las Vegas, locking into that championship for Denny Hamlin was maybe the most booed guy at tracks in 25. I don't think you're going to hear anybody boo him in 26. Like
they will.
Even if I'm sure some people will, but I do think it's going to be, he was never hated to the point of Kyle Busch. Now you don't really hear people boo Kyle Busch. Yeah. I don't think you're going to hear a lot of boos for Denny Hamlin. I don't know who the next villain of the garage is going to be. I don't think it's this guy in the number 11. And that could, you never know what kind of a boost that could give him. Technically, second and third were tied on our board. Each of Larson and Hamlin having a first place vote, third place vote, and fourth place vote. For Rod, it was the first place vote for Larson. Seth, you had him fourth. I had him third. I gave the tiebreaker to Larson because he won the championship. Should he have won the championship? No. But again, you look at all the different formats that could have happened. The year that Larson had in the format that they raced, won the title. If it was the 10 race chase, won the title. If it was, I think even if they had gone full season points, he would have won the title. So Kyle Larson, a guy, he's not going away. Still one of the best drivers in the series, best driver for the best Chevrolet team in the garage. Very worthy number 2. He's on a little bit of a winless streak. And one of my scalding hot takes was the winless streak goes on. That's extremely unlikely to happen. Larson almost certainly multiple wins, championship contender once again in 26.
Yeah, I had him fourth in my rankings, Elliot. And there's 2 main reasons. One, while he was a lot better on super speedways last year, and I think he's actually live to win the Daytona 500, he still got to get that monkey off his back. And that's, that's 6 races that I don't know if he can win, or at least is not a strong favorite to win those races, despite the strong performances last year. Also, road courses were
go ahead.
Big fall off, man. Huge fall off at road courses from 2024 to 2025. And it's not just because SVG was out there. He wasn't even a top 10 car at most road courses. He was an easy fade by the end of the season. We were cashing a lot of tickets. And
the stat at the Roval was he earned, I think P2 at the Roval earned just as many points at the Roval as he did in every other road course race combined, all in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, that's the thing. So if you're taking out 6, probably 6 super speedways, he's not winning, and unless he finally does it. And then you're probably also taking out 5 road courses he's not going to win. That's 11 tracks that I can already roll out that Kyle Larson is not winning. And it feels like sometimes when he doesn't have the car, he can still overstep, right? He's the most talented driver in the world. We can't, look past some of the boneheaded decisions he made last year, putting Austin Cindric in the wall in Atlanta when both them had a chance to go for. I mean, the list goes on and on. So that's my issue with Larson. Also, he led almost 600 less laps than he did the year before. I will go out on a limb. I do not think Kyle Larson is the best driver in the NASCAR Cup Series. Is he the most talented? Yes. Is he the best at this standpoint? No.
That's a fair take. You don't have him at the top. I don't have him at the top either. For Larson, though, you talk about rule him out at super speedways, rule him out at road courses. Totally fair. Every other track has a darn good chance to win the race. Saw him, of course, last year won Bristol, won Homestead, and won Kansas. Variety of different tracks.
It's always tracks, though. It's his tracks. You know what I mean? I'm surprised he doesn't have a Las Vegas win in there too. But it's like but it's those tracks are the ones I think he wins at. If he doesn't win at those, I don't necessarily consider him he's not a short flat ace. Right, he's not going to go out and he's not going to be the favorite when we go to New Hampshire or when we go to WWT or Richmond, something like that. But he's at least good enough to be in the mix. But I just don't consider him a favorite there anymore.
And honestly, I think maybe the most likely Larson season is probably the same season that we saw from him this year. Go win Spring Bristol.
Yep.
Pull the Daytona 500 out of his rear end or Spring Talladega.
Yeah.
Go win one of those intermediate races, a Texas or a Kansas or the Coke 600 or something like that. And then it could very well cool down in the summertime. You don't know how much dirt racing he's going to do next year. Again, Chili Bowl, you're putting Larson at the very top. Not at the very top, though. In our power rankings, that honor goes to Ryan Blaney in the number 12. You had him P1. Rod and I had him P2, and that was good enough to put the Penske number 12 at the top of the board. Last year, most raw speed out of anybody, probably consistently week in, week out. Only had a handful of wins, though. Had a lot of them go away when he had arguably the fastest car. And a guy who, you talk about guys entering new eras of personal life, too. Having his first baby this offseason. We saw dad mode really unlock some potential in Bubba Wallace. A guy like Ryan Blaney, if that helps him out, you could really see this 12-car in victory lane quite a bit. A very deserving number 1 on the board, and a guy who, again, another one of those guys, regardless of the title format, Ryan Blaney is going to be a part of it.
Ryan Blaney has no weaknesses. That's what I'll say. Like, while he hasn't, got any road course wins as of late or, had any like stellar top 5 performances, he got way better while Kyle Larson like nosedived on road courses, Ryan Blaney went up. He had really good speed right off the track, didn't always get the finishes he deserved. But also, you go to super speedways, this guy's one of the best, if not the best at it right now, too. And then we go to all those short flat tracks. That's a guy who can win those short flat tracks in spades as well. And then we go to places like Martinsville. He's the heavy favorite for a reason, right? He's so good with the line. He can run there, man. So everything comes together for him. And I just think like there's not many holes in this game. And yeah, he had 4 wins last year. What happens if he doesn't blow up all those races or have all the tech issues that he had early in the season? He could have 6 or 7 wins on the year. That could look a lot differently. So even with all that happened to him, he still almost found a way into the championship 4. Still would have had would have won the title if maybe not. So yeah, I'm all the way back in on Ryan Blaney. He was a guy a couple years ago who people, when we put out our power rankings, would always comment on the website, on Twitter, on YouTube, and say, I don't think Ryan Blaney's a top 3 or 4 guy. Now he is. He is transformed into that, and he is dang sure, in my mind, my number 1 driver, and I was happy to see that overall he got there as well with your help.
Yeah, no argument at all. Even though I had Hamlin getting the edge, he has much more potential of regressing than Ryan Blaney. I do like Blaney, number 1, very deserving player here. You talk about last year, all the wins he had. He was on a different planet at Homestead, Blue Motor. Ran really well, I think, at Phoenix, Blue Motor. Would have won Darlington if Larson hadn't crashed 250 laps down and gave that win to Denny Hamlin. Probably didn't even mean to win Phoenix in the fall. Just didn't mean to win Daytona in August. It just happened because everyone else kind of handed it to him. He's a guy that can win races even when he doesn't mean to win races. So Ryan Blaney at the very top, no surprise here. And a deserving number 1 on our power rankings for sure. Pretty solid top 25, and hey, I'm pretty sure between those 25, you're going to get most of the top 25 in the standings. I feel like I like where we're at here from 25 to 1.
I am, Elliot. If you could put out some odds that we got it perfectly here, I would definitely take those, even though they're a little bit of a long shot. But great stuff as always, my friend. Really appreciate everything you continue to do for our NASCAR betting community here at IBT. A lot of fun things coming your way. Again, free to join the IBT Racing family right now. The Daytona model already out there, so you can get yourself already start handicapping that race because we don't have any future odds, but we're going to keep our heads on swivels for that as well. Lots of good things happening over there in the Discord, whether it be the contests that we're going to have for the head-to-heads or just memorabilia giveaways, because we got some sweet ones, and we're going to start it off with a bang at the Daytona 500. I'll keep that under wraps for another couple weeks until I reveal that one, but going to be great, Elliot. So much good stuff happened between the NFL, fantasy football, and betting content, the college football betting, also the NASCAR and the PGA season going to be starting right up here on the other side of the new year as well. Plus entertainment betting still going strong for those 2026 movie, TV show, and music predictions. So lots of fun happening, and you're very much at the center of my friend.
Yeah, man, you're talking about some special giveaway. I don't even know what it is. So excited to see with everyone else what's going on. Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for rolling down with us. It's going to be an exciting 2026 for IBT and everything in the NASCAR scene. We can't wait to see what's coming down the back road next. We'll see you then.